This is the only sort of relationship I have.
Why?
It's the way I am.
I wanted the books to be very non-judgmental about everything. I don't see the world in black and white. I'm very suspicious of people who do. I think the world is all fine shades of grey. And so I decided on that for the title and for that for his name. So everything about it is ambiguous. Is this the good thing to do? Is this a bad thing to do? Is this, I mean, it's completely up to the reader to decide. This started back in the day on the 27th of December 2008. I picked up Twilight and started reading it. I loved it. I read it again, and I read it again, and I read it again, and on the 15th of January I started writing a novel. And I read about something called fan fiction. I didn't know what fan fiction was. I thought, well, this is interesting, and I looked up, and it's where you take somebody else's characters and you do various things with them. I thought, oh, this looks great, and I read a couple of fanfics, and I decided to have a go myself. And so I wrote a novel, a 70,000-word novel in 3 weeks. And while I was doing that, I had the idea for what became 50 Shades. And basically, in my youth, I used to read a lot of romance novels while I was commuting into work. I was on the tube, hiding the covers because they're all, you know, maidens with their clothes falling off and men with torsos. And so I was reading a lot of that, and I'd also picked up a book by Pat Khalifa called Macho Sluts, which was about lesbian BDSM, which was fascinating, and I'd read a little bit more about that. And I thought, what would happen if you met somebody who was in this lifestyle and you weren't? What would you do? And that's how 50 Shades was born. At the beginning, I knew that Anna, who was this sweet, shy, compassionate young woman, would be far stronger than Christian was, although it wouldn't be obvious to her, or particularly to the reader. It's only as the story unfolded you actually realise how strong she is.
No.
And with Christian, I knew that he was a deeply damaged individual, hid very well behind this facade of his huge success as a businessman, entrepreneur. So he was completely and utterly emotionally challenged in dealing with any kind of relationship because there was a huge part of him missing.
Let me touch you.
It's basically about two people who are trying to find a link and a connection that's so obviously there between them, and such a physical attraction, and trying to overcome this issue of how he leads his life.
You said you didn't do romance.
I knew from the start that it would be a passionate love story. I always described it as a love story with a kink. I published a chapter at a time when I was writing it on the internet, and I can honestly say that nothing I have done beats the thrill of pressing publish. That was the best time of my life. I met some amazing women who are still with me, still supportive. I'm still friends with them now, and it was great fun. The problem was that it became more and more and more popular, and I got very concerned that someone was going to copy the story or to use the ideas from all of the story, because there are so many, that I decided to publish it, and I did. It was a crazy time, the fervour in the press, because you couldn't actually get hold of the books. They were all print on demand and on ebook, and so that created this frenzy that was ridiculous. They flew out of the warehouse. They just couldn't print them fast enough. The publisher ran out of silver ink just for the book covers, and they sold so quickly. It was unprecedented.
I haven't sat read a book like this in forever. Thank you so much. Thank you.
From the feedback I've had, it's been women who speak to other women about these books. The word of mouth is the thing that's driven the sales more than anything else. In college, at work, at bridge, you know, spanning every generation, from too young to, I've had fans in their 90s write to me.
I know, crying. So nervous. She'll start the rest of everybody. My heart is racing.
I think they're responding to the passionate love story. I think that's fundamentally what women like to read. And it's also a complete fantasy. You just fall into the fantasy and get swept away.
Big smile now.
The New York screening, our fan screening that we did, was such a tremendous success. It was so wonderful to see the fans respond to the film like they've responded to the book. I was so pleased that they enjoyed what we had worked very hard to bring to the screen. It was an amazing experience for me to walk in there and feel that energy and that passion all kind of capped in that room. It was an extraordinary experience and one that I'm not going to forget for a long time.